head coach Kevin Burch from Ohio State. This is hard to believe going to be my seventh year. And then we got fourth year outside hitter Daniel
Yeah.
Hurley, fourth year with 3 years of eligibility left. So lots of experience and looking forward to seeing what he can do this year.
Yeah. Well, that was the thing. I was confused before I get into my questioning. Daniel, you've only had 1 year playing on the court for Ohio State, correct?
I know, right?
Okay. I just wanted to make sure
Yes,
because
that is correct.
awesome, because that if that wasn't the case, then my question would have been screwed. Um, all right. Coach Birch, I'm going to start with you. Over the last you've made 3 straight MIVA conference championships. You've made it to the NCAA championship or tournament 2 of the last 3 years with a lot of roster overturn. What about your coaching philosophy has resulted in such strong finishes every year and such consistent performances out of your Buckeye team?
I don't think it's anything one specific philosophy as much as it's just about learning myself. I ask these guys to learn on a daily basis and just try to take things, from a matter of fact approach. And I think I had to learn, the hard way over a few years myself. So I think it's just a little bit of a product of learning. It's going to be a constant, you know, moving target, if you will, as we get new guys that come in. And but more than importantly than anything else, I think it's the guys learning along with me and being bought into the process that we have and working together. More importantly, I think this is a new age of coaching and playing. It's not like it used to be even 10 years ago. So I think adapting to work with our guys has been a huge process, and seeing their buy-in and their hard work has been a huge part of it.
And Daniel, this is your second year, going into your second year being able to play on the court for Ohio State, dealing with a lot of injuries throughout your career. But what was something that you learned from last season that you were going to take in to this year's season?
I mean, man, the guys are tough from what I could see on the sideline. Whether they get beat up hard, they were sticking to it the entirety of the season. That was a beautiful thing to watch. But I mean, we got a lot of young guns, a lot of new piece, a lot of guys who are developing at a great rate. I would say just resilience and a passion to get out there. Like a lot of the guys absolutely love the sport more than you could believe. I think resilience is the thing I'm most excited and what we could build off the best.
What is bringing high-level collegiate volleyball to the Midwest mean for the growth of our sport? I mean, obviously, you guys are a Big Ten school in a sport that doesn't have a Big Ten. So, what does that mean to the growth of our sport?
At least from a coaching perspective, I think seeing the growth of the sport at the high school level has certainly helped from a talent pool standpoint. We had Ohio sponsor the Boys of High School Championship, I think it was 2 years ago. The number of schools sponsoring the sport has already doubled. The amount of talent that we've seen in the sport has more than doubled. So I just think from a growth standpoint, I think we're seeing it quicker than we imagined it. But I think from Dan can kind of speak to it, at least from a Virginia standpoint, and how he sees it from the actual high school end of it.
Yeah, not from the Midwest, but very lucky where I grew up to have a good presence of volleyball. And I mean, it means the world to me. I messed around with a lot of sports, but volleyball is really what stuck, and I'm incredibly thankful for that. But I mean, from a player perspective, like seeing increased levels of fans in the stands, or when we do our camps and seeing kids who are young and excited to come learn the game, that's what means the most to me. But yeah, having an ability to play in high school and as you're coming up before college, it's huge. And I really hope that as we progress, that more people can have those opportunities.
So with this growing fan base, what would you say a fan can expect when they tune in to an Ohio State volleyball game? The style of play, just the camaraderie as a team. What can they expect when they watch you guys?
One thing that I would say is, I guess fire is the best word. I mean, a lot of these guys, like I said, they love volleyball, but they love to compete, and myself included. And sometimes maybe Burch thinks it might get a little out of hand at times. He might be right, but I mean, we love each other, and we love playing against each other and with each other. And I think, no matter the situation, the fire and the excitement is what you can expect and what you'll definitely be able to view from a broadcast perspective. But yeah, just unrelenting energy.
Yeah, I don't think he's wrong about that. There's no question our guys are competitive. They love being out there. And as a coach, I love to see it. I want to see guys that want to be out there every single day, regardless of, the day before being tough or great, and that's what we're seeing from our guys. I think from a fan perspective, what I've noticed over the years, and I think is especially going to be the case this year, is just physicality, which I think that term in our sport can be overused, quite frankly. But it's, I think, we got guys that have an arm like a Randy Johnson fastball, and then you got guys that can also dunk on top of that. And you throw those two things together, and it's going to be fun to watch in person. And I certainly think this team has no shortage of that physicality and athleticism.
Yeah. No, I can tell you, as you said, from the broadcast perspective, the fire that you guys had. I think it was that fire that I saw in the back half of last year's season that I was just confident that this team could make it far. And it was a close push last year, but this is a team that, Burch, you've got yourself a group that is consistently, performing every year. And that's the thing. You hear the most about the Loyolas, the Lewises, the Ball States, and you don't hear a lot about Ohio State, but you are consistently the one making the noise every year, whether it be upsets, whether it be just, ending higher than anyone expected. What is getting you excited about this 2026 season?
First thing that jumps out to me is, like you said, the really close push. I mean, it really stung last year. And a moment like that is something that you can really utilize going through your training, preseason, off-season, everything. And wasn't necessarily, I wouldn't say a wake-up call, but it's something that we think about. And we're really excited to go out there and show what we can do and what level we're at currently. And there's a lot to be excited about from our perspective, but I believe that it's a light bit of a fire under our butt, and yeah, we're ready to roll 100%.
And I think last year our guys saw how beneficial over a season it can be without distractions. It's just being dialed in on getting better every day. Again, a cliche coach speak, but like our guys really bought into getting better every day, and they saw the long-term benefit of that daily focus by the end of the year. And so you couple that with quite frankly, the increase in talent that we have this year. Our upside is a lot higher than I think most would give us credit for. And I think I'm just excited to see our guys go out and prove it. We have the talent, the potential to beat a lot of the best teams in the country. I really believe that. I see it in practice every day this fall, and I'm excited to see our guys go out and prove it to themselves. I think as coaches, we believe in them so much, but it's only a matter of time before our guys prove it to themselves, and that's certainly what I'm most excited about.
Well, do you want to talk about the athlete sitting next to you? What does he bring to this team that that the Buckeyes so desperately need, and how big of a role he plays?
Literally everything we've just talked about, the physicality of the game, the fire, the competition. I think he's also experienced the benefit of being down and getting better every day. He came in here and nobody thought he could pass, and there were fall matches that we had this year where he was the best passer on the court, which I think says a lot about his level of improvement, where he's come. But then there was other matches where he was going over the top of the block and nobody could stop him. So I think this is a guy that he's sitting in this interview for a reason. I think he can be a first-team All-American. I truly believe that. Now he's had a lot of ups and downs through injuries through this time here, but he's a special young man that can accomplish a lot of great things. And it's been fun to watch that progress and the resilience that he's mentioned and he's shown himself, and looking forward to seeing that on the court and letting everybody else see what I've been seeing the last 3 years.
And then Daniel, what about Coach Burch's leadership has unlocked that side for you, going from somebody who was said that they can't pass to somebody who's now, obviously a well-trusted and well-spoken of member of this team?
I would say consistent levels of confidence, but not blind confidence, staying grounded, but the main point that he preaches, especially to me, is utilizing failure, mistakes, learning from that, moving on, growing from it. And I think that's a big point of upside for our team and myself, that things are going to happen, but if we have the faith in ourselves to continue on that and triumph past that, I think we could be really dangerous. And yeah, there's a lot of great things that I've learned over time. I mean, hard to pull out anything specifically, but I would say, yeah, the consistent confidence instilled in us, as well as the ability to move on from mistakes, is very important for me.
Put you on the hot spot in front of your head coach. My fault.
Don't worry about it.
Obviously you have the athletes sitting next to you, but who else should we be looking out for this year? Obviously you've got a lot of, very talented homegrown players, but also a lot of guys coming in overseas. Who should we be looking out for on the Buckeye squad this year?
Certainly Stan and Shane. I mean, there's those two guys have been stable for us. I mean, Shane has been as experienced as it gets. This is going into his 4th year starting for us, which you don't see that even in today's day and age. You don't see that very often. And, seeing his maturity and his growth over the years too has been really fun to watch. But as far as our young guys, Henwood has been great for us last year, and he brings a lot, again, of confidence and experience for a sophomore. But, I think Christian Teresi is going to be a guy that's going to be right there on his heels and going to be pushing him. We'll see him as a serve sub, if nothing else. I'm really excited to see Drew Hudson. He was our defensive libero last year and somebody that has grown a ton and somebody I think can really make a name for himself this year. And beyond that, I think there's Eliel Torres is a transfer from Lincoln Memorial, who has, I think he was #1 in attack percentage last year in the country and just wanted to prove himself. He's like, I did it at Lincoln Memorial, and see if I can do it at Ohio State. And that's the attitude we want to see in guys like that. So, honestly, I could go on and on about our guys. I really have that strong of belief in them. But I think those are the names you'll be hearing a lot this year.
Obviously, you've got that connection between Henwood and Puerto Rico over the summer. What kind of reps as a coach you see your players go out and you perform in these NORCECA Cups and have those off-season high value reps? How important is that, in that player development to see those kids perform at those events?
Well, I think it's obviously getting high value reps over the summer is critical. I think this is a repetition sport. I tell the guys all the time, it's like golf. You're not going to see LeBron walk on the golf course day 1 and be good, or a volleyball court day 1 and be good. So the more high level reps you can get, the better off you're going to be. Certainly there's some load management now more so than ever that we have to deal with, especially with decreased roster limits, managing some of that and making sure that guys aren't getting too many reps that are, going to potentially hurt us during season. But, I'm certainly not going to complain about those reps. And certainly when guys are getting them together, like Henny and L are getting, it's certainly valuable.
Well, this thing of reps and being sure you're good at the end of the season, also you weigh that with the new tournament expansion. Do you, as somebody who is a school that has hosted quite a few of the national championships over the last decade, how important is that expansion to our sport going into these next couple of years?
It's critical. We had the lowest percentage of participating teams in an NCAA tournament of any NCAA sport. And so the fact that we're finally getting that boosted and finally getting on par with everybody else is huge for our sport, especially with how much growth we're seeing at the youth level. So personally, I think it's great, but I also think there's a lot of pressure on these guys, to be perfect throughout the season in order to make a tiny NCAA tournament. So hopefully, I don't know from a player's perspective, but hopefully that'll take some of that pressure off and allow us to play a little more free.
I agree as well. Yeah, 100%. And like for the game overall, I mean, men's volleyball is a pretty tight knit community. So just like specifically, like just seeing guys that you grew up with or knew from a training camp or a summer team or something, it's really special to see guys get increased opportunities for stuff like that. So yeah, I'm just really excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah. Well, we're all excited to see you guys on the court this year. Why is Ohio State a team that should be feared in the MIVA this year?
I mean, like I said, we've got, with the exception of roster limits, we've got older guys who are experienced, like Shane Wetzel, Jack O'Reardon, myself. Got young guys who are coming in and pressing us each and every day. But yeah, like I said, resilience and fire are incredibly important to me. But I think that we really know what we're capable of, and Coach Burch and all the coaching staff has helped reinforce that. And we're just really excited. Like the talent is there. It's a matter of it all coming together. But I think with the level of determination and excitement that I see among the guys each and every day in, day out, it really makes me excited. Not to use that word too much, but it's a cool thing to see. And I think just constant, relentless work and grind. It's impossible for us to not make some serious waves this year.
Yeah, I think learning how to win is, I think the reality of that statement is it's not a single match type of thing or in match type of thing. It's learning how to win is learning how to, prepare on a daily basis, learning how to improve on a daily basis. And our guys learned that last year. They saw the level of improvement that we made from, I mean, I think you just look at the first time we played McKendree on the road versus the playoff, we certainly showed a lot of improvement. I think you combine that aspect with the talent that we have and the leadership that we have. I think it's, again, I don't think it can be an overused word. We're excited, we're motivated, and we're ready to go.
Yeah. Any matches you got circled on your calendar, or they're all circled?
Oh, they're all circled. We got a tough conference, but certainly there's some that are more probably circled twice. But at the same point in time, in our sport and in our conference especially, man, anybody can beat you on a given night, and we certainly respect all those guys. And I think the reality of our program, and we certainly know this, we talk about it on a regular basis, is we're going to be circled on a lot of our opponents' calendars, especially on the road. And so, we have to genuinely treat every match like in the same way and prepare for it in the same way. And our guys have certainly been doing that.
Yeah. Now, I would hate myself if I didn't ask, but as the sole Big Ten representative, has there been any talks about the Big Ten possibly sanctioning men's volleyball?
I would love to say yes, but the reality is no.
Yeah.
I think with the changing rules, there's more motivation than ever right now. My honest, and I hope other Big Ten coaches in UCLA, USC, and Penn State see this or hear this. My first next step, I think, is getting a regular Big Ten schedule on the books. So we can again keep it top of mind for administrators, eliminate the excuse of additional travel, and just already have that schedule on the books. I think it's possible. We've drawn it up, we've seen it. I think things like that are the next step to really promote, and so that when that does become a reality, or when that conversation does increase, in the administrator's room, then we've already done our part to make sure that that decision is as easy as possible.
Yeah. And you're seeing that, you're seeing more non-conference tournaments of these these UCLAs, these Hawaiis, and getting these tournaments together. There's more value in that. So hopefully that is something that we can see moving forward. But with that, I think that will do us for our MIVA Media Day with Ohio State. Guys, I really appreciate talking with you, and hopefully make it back to Ohio again this year. So looking forward to
Love
it.
it.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Joe. Appreciate you.
Thank you very much.